Let's jump right into this explainer. While everyone's been endlessly debating the usual AI heavyweights, xAI has quietly dropped a massive disruptor onto the playing field, Grok 4.3. They're playing a completely different game, and today we're tearing into the data to see exactly how this model is shaking things up.
Think about these independent test numbers for a second. 3 times faster, 5 times more context, all for less than half the price. I mean, wow. These specs alone are exactly why we need to unpack this technology today. Once you grasp the raw data here, xAI's whole strategy suddenly just clicks. Here's the roadmap for today's explainer. We're hitting the challenger's new game, 4 numbers that matter, the catch and trade-offs, a head-to-head AI comparison, beyond the chatbot ecosystem, and finally, the roadmap and verdict. Let's get to it.
Part 1. The challenger's new game, playing by a different set of rules. Released in April 2026, Grok 4.3 is a 0.5 trillion parameter checkpoint. And just to be clear, a checkpoint is essentially a snapshot pulled from an even more massive, ongoing 1 trillion parameter training run. It's built on a stated mission to be, quote, maximally truth-seeking. Basically, it's not trying to sugarcoat things or mimic the hyper-polished vibe of its competitors. Instead, it's going all in on raw speed and sheer throughput.
Section 2, 4 numbers that matter, the killer specs.
First up, a massive 1 to 2 million token context window. To put that into perspective for you, GPT 5.4 tops out around 400,000. So with Grok, you can literally drop an 800-page legal contract, 3 solid years of emails, or an entire software code base right into a single prompt. And the crazy part? It doesn't just skim and summarize. It actually remembers and reasons across the whole thing at once.
Now, if you've ever sat there staring at your screen, waiting for an AI to slowly type out an answer while your coffee gets cold, well, this is your fix. Independent tests have clocked Grok generating a blisteringly fast 235 tokens per second. With GPT sitting around 100 and Claude near 80, Grok is pumping out responses 2 to 3 times faster. For high-speed, everyday workflows, that's a total game changer.
Then there's the cost. If you're a developer pushing huge documents at scale, an input price of just $1.25 per million tokens and only $2.50 for output is absolutely staggering. If you've got heavy workloads, you could literally save thousands of dollars every single month just by routing your API calls over to Grok. The fourth killer spec is multimodality. xAI closed this gap incredibly fast. Grok now handles text, images, and video natively. You can feed it a raw 30-second video clip, and it will break down exactly what happened, who was on screen, and what they said. Sure, the competition got there first, but Grok has caught up at a genuinely wild pace.
Moving to Section 3, the catch and trade-offs, the flaws in the machine.
Okay, before you go canceling your current subscriptions, let's talk about the unfiltered reality of where this model kind of falls flat. On the really tough benchmarks, Grok definitely trails the pack, scoring only about 11% on one particularly brutal math test. But honestly, the more practical issue is this bizarre quirk testers are calling the narcolepsy bug. Basically, if you set Grok up on a complex, multi-step agent task that runs for several hours, it'll occasionally just fall asleep at the wheel and fail to finish the job.
We also need to talk about safety architecture, because there's a major divergence here. Independent studies found that Grok's maximally truth-seeking approach results in noticeably looser safety filters. In practice, this means it's significantly more willing to validate dangerous or delusional ideas compared to the strict, highly cautious guardrails you get with GPT or Claude. Depending on your use case, that's a massive factor to consider.
Section 4. Head-to-head AI comparison, the workplace personas.
Because comparing marketing pages won't give you the honest picture. Think of the big 3 AI models like people in an office. GPT 5.4, that's your polished consultant in a tailored suit, well-rounded, creative, accurate, but definitely expensive and a bit limited on context size. Claude Opus is the careful corporate lawyer. Reasons beautifully, almost never goes off the rails, but moves a little slower and loves to hedge its bets. And Grok 4.3, that's your all-night analyst, churning out massive volume and incredible speeds, fueled by caffeine. It might miss some nuance on the hardest tasks, but the sheer throughput is totally unmatched.
All right, Section 5, beyond the chatbot ecosystem, expanding the tool set. Grok is rapidly evolving way past a simple text box, and the utility here is huge. It handles native structured output, so you can hand it a dense research paper, and instead of a wall of text, it spits out a finished 9-slide PowerPoint file, diagrams and all, ready to present. It's got live web search baked right in. But the really futuristic stuff? That's the Think Fast 1.0 voice agent and a beta computer control feature that can actively view your screen, open your apps, and manage your spreadsheets for you.
And you have to see the sheer effectiveness of this Think Fast 1.0 voice agent. Forget those clunky robotic phone menus we all hate. This thing handles natural, multi-turn phone calls, powers through background noise, and speaks over 25 languages fluently. Starlink is already using it for customer support, and they are reporting a 70% auto-resolution rate, meaning the AI is actually solving the vast majority of customer issues completely on its own.
Section 6, the roadmap in verdict, the future of XAI. Let's look at where this is all heading, because the timeline is incredibly aggressive. XAI has built the Colossus 2 supercomputer down in Memphis, generating their own power to run roughly 200,000 GPUs. That kind of compute is driving a wild roadmap. We're expecting the 1 trillion parameter Grok 4.4 in May 2026, Grok 4.5 by June, and a mammoth 6 to 10 trillion parameter Grok 5 later in the year. If they hit those marks, Grok is going to be roughly 20 times bigger by year's end.
So what's the verdict for you? It boils down to a pretty simple framework. If you are a developer building agents or a creator generating slide decks and processing massive texts, Grok's speed and cost efficiency are an absolute dream. Just keep a human in the loop to check its work. But if you're in a highly regulated field, like healthcare, finance, or law, where a hallucination or a lack of safety filters could mean major legal trouble, you absolutely need to stick with the highly cautious GPT or Claude models for now.
As XAI continues to scale its models at a breakneck pace, the gap between the major players is closing by the minute. So we're left to ponder this fundamental question for the modern AI era: speed and freedom, or safety and accuracy? Which trade-off is going to define your workflow? Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and we will catch you next time.